All right, today we're diving into a new AI model that's really making waves. It's called Step 3.5 Flash, and it's promising something that's pretty much been the holy grail of AI for years. Genius-level smarts, but at lightning-fast speeds. So let's break down how they pulled it off.
In the world of AI, there's always been this fundamental trade-off, right? You could get a model that has incredible reasoning power, or you could get one that's super fast. But getting both at the same time? Yeah, that's been the big dream everyone's been chasing. And this lays out the problem perfectly. On one side, you've got these behemoths, the frontier models. Their reasoning is amazing, sure, but they cost a fortune to run, and they're just slow, too slow for real-time stuff. But on the other side, what we actually need for useful AI agents, things that can help us in the real world, is that same powerful reasoning, but cheap with almost no delay. We need it to be instant.
Okay, so that's the setup. And this is where our hero enters the picture. A team of researchers looked at this problem and basically said, no more. Their answer? A new model called Step 3.5 Flash, and it was engineered from the ground up to completely shatter this compromise.
So what is this thing, really? The paper calls it a sparse mixture of experts model. I know, that's a mouthful. But the two key words you need to remember are sparse and frontier-level intelligence. Sparse just means that even though the model is gigantic, it only uses a tiny, hyper-efficient piece of itself at any given moment. And frontier-level intelligence? Well, that just means it's wickedly smart. It's truly built to be the best of both worlds.
To really get it, let's just look at the sheer scale. The model has a whopping 196 billion parameters. You can think of those as all the individual bits of knowledge it has, its total potential brain power. It's just massive. And normally, trying to run a model that big would be incredibly slow and cost a fortune.
Yeah, normally. But here's the twist. This is the magic trick. For any single task you give it, Step 3.5 Flash only activates 11 billion of those parameters. That's a tiny fraction of the whole thing. So it has this massive brain, but it's smart enough to only use the exact neurons it needs for the job. And that's the secret sauce. That's where all the speed comes from. But wait, how does that even work? How can you tap into a 196 billion parameter brain by only using 11 billion at a time? Well, it's all thanks to this really clever architecture called mixture of experts.
Okay, the best way to think about it is this. Imagine you have a problem. Instead of asking one person who knows a little bit about everything, what if you could go to a room filled with 288 world-class specialists? That's Step 3.5 Flash. When a task comes in, a little manager inside the model instantly says, okay, for this problem, I need the 8 best experts for the job. And boom, you get super specialized brain power without having to wake up the whole committee.
So there are really 3 key pieces of tech that make this whole thing sing. You got the mixture of experts. That's what gives it that massive knowledge base. Then there's something called hybrid attention, which is how it can read really long documents super fast. And finally, multi-token prediction helps it spit out answers in bigger chunks, which just makes it feel incredibly snappy. It's like the perfect storm of efficiency.
Now, this all sounds great, but building a model with hundreds of different specialists isn't exactly a walk in the park. If you're not careful, things can get pretty chaotic, and the team ran into a pretty big problem during training. They had to figure out how to tame what they called rogue experts.
And this is a massive challenge in AI. I mean, think about it. How on earth do you get a system with hundreds of independent parts to all learn and work together without the whole thing just spiraling out of control and crashing?
And here's what that chaos looks like. This graph is basically showing how loud each expert is. Take a look at that chart. See those lines that just spike way up? Those are the rogue experts. They're basically screaming over everyone else. And if you let that happen, their signals amplify so much that the whole network can just blow up.
So what was the fix? Well, it was something surprisingly simple and elegant, actually. They came up with a technique called activation clipping. You can think of it like a volume knob for each expert. It just puts a hard limit on how loud any one of them can get, so nobody can run wild. It keeps everything stable and balanced, which is absolutely crucial if you want an AI you can actually rely on.
And did it work? Oh yeah, the results speak for themselves. This is the training graph for the entire model. Just look at how incredibly smooth that line is. Over 17 trillion tokens of data. That's an insane amount. And there's only one tiny little blip. That is what a stable genius looks like.
And they didn't stop there. When it came time to fine-tune the model, they used another new method. Just look at the difference. On the left, you've got the old way. It's all spiky and noisy. On the right, their new method is just buttery smooth. It means the model keeps getting smarter, more efficiently, and without any of that chaos.
Okay, so the model is incredibly efficient. It's super stable to train. That's all great. But now for the million-dollar question. Can it actually hang with the big dogs? It's time to put Flash to the test.
Because this is always the fear, isn't it? All this focus on speed and efficiency. Did they have to sacrifice raw intelligence to get there? Was there a trade-off?
The answer is a resounding no. Just look at this. Step 3.5 Flash, that's the blue bar, is going toe-to-toe with the titans. We're talking GPT 5.2, Gemini 3.0 Pro on some of the hardest tests out there. It's playing in the big leagues, but it's doing it with a fraction of the compute power.
Let's just zoom in on a few of these. On a tough math competition benchmark, it actually beats Gemini Pro. On another tough math test, it's right on the heels of GPT 5.2. And it's not just math. It holds its own on complex coding benchmarks, too. This isn't a compromise. It's top-tier performance with crazy good efficiency.
So let's zoom out. What does this all actually mean? Because this is way more than just another model release. This could be a real turning point, the start of a whole new era for AI agents.
Okay, so why should you care? 3 big reasons. First, accessibility. Suddenly, you don't need a supercomputer to get super intelligence. This opens the door for so many more developers and businesses. Second, responsiveness. AI agents that can actually think on their feet in real time suddenly become a reality. And third, this just raises the bar for everyone. It completely redefines what's possible.
You know, the creators themselves said it perfectly. They called this a high-density foundation for deploying sophisticated agents in real-world industrial environments. And that's really the whole point, isn't it? Getting this amazing tech out of the lab and into the real world doing useful stuff.
So that leaves us with a pretty exciting question to chew on. What happens next? What can we build? What problems can we solve when genius-level thinking isn't a rare, expensive luxury anymore, but something that's available to anyone, everywhere in a flash?